Ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids across the galaxy, Baby Grogu and I need you to strap yourselves in tight on the biggest and deadliest Stardust stream because we're going to have a wild character review video of Moff Gideon, Los Pollos Imperiales. Card in the top right-hand corner if you did not see our stream. Thank you guys so much for coming up. We had an absolute blast, and we learned so much about Moff Gideon to the point where a CG dev responded to me, and they're going to be making a minor change based off what we discovered on this stream. And hopefully this guy doesn't keep calling us up telling me I have something that he wants, because I'm telling him the answer is no. Listen, the answer's still no.
You have something I want.
I don't care. We have a ton to summarize in today's video, but the long story short, is this character amazing? Yes, he is the fastest non-galactic Legends character in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. The way Moff Gideon's kit stands as of now, he is one of the most plug-and-play characters in Galaxy of Heroes. And he's a non-legendary on top of that. And as a result, there is a concern. There's a nerf potential due to his kit. And if that ever does happen, this character will go from amazing to pretty mediocre because I am not a huge fan of his Imperial Troopers synergies, but I have a feeling that there is more to come from Moff Gideon's future Imperial Trooper faction. First things first, as we see a tactical deployment, we see some Scout Troopers in here. So there might be a chance we're missing one or two Troopers, a Scout Trooper, maybe a Dark Trooper like we talked about earlier. We'll talk about this lead in a moment because there's actually a bug that we discovered during our stream. But the first thing I really want to showcase is his anti-galactic legend potential. He absolutely wrecks Rey teams. This clip I'm showing you is a comparison we showed on stream with and without Moff Gideon. With Moff Gideon on the field, he drastically nerfs the ultimate ability of Rey, and the best part about it, he is not constrained to a faction. He can be in any faction, and he will be able to just reduce damage out the gate no matter what, unlike Hux, who got nerfed because of how plug-and-play viable he was. And due to the fact he's the fastest non-galactic Legends character in the game, and he controls turn meter, and he can trigger taunts, give offense boost to all attackers, and apply demoralize. He really does control the situation in almost every type of battle you're gonna bring him in. So with that initial summary, let's talk about the good stuff. We'll talk about the bad stuff. We'll talk about Capital Games responding to our stream and what we discovered. And then at the end, we'll talk about mods and the Zetas and the future I think is in store for Moff Gideon. With the good stuff, we kind of already outlined it in that summary, but there's really three amazing things about Moff Gideon, and that is his unique ability to know your adversaries with applying demoralize no matter what lineup he's in, making him one of the ultimate plug-and-play non-legendary characters in Galaxy because he is not constrained to the Empire or Imperial Trooper faction like Hux is constrained to the First Order. Control the situation is another ability I am absolutely surprised they did not constrain it to a faction, because no matter what team he's in, due to his high speed, at the beginning, he can even outrun a majority of Captain Rexes out there if you mod him right. And he also is kind of like a galactic legend in a way where he can interact with the tags of classes. He's able to trigger taunts. You don't see a lot of characters triggering it unless in very special circumstances. Moff Gideon can trigger taunts on any type of tank out there. He gives offensive boost to any type of attackers, and he gives protection up to any type of support, not just Imperial Troopers, not just Dark Side, anything light or dark side. And before we start talking about the bad things, I want to give a bit more context about why this is amazing. We have a couple of examples. We showed you the Rey example with the before and after difference with Moff Gideon on the field. Rey's ultimate is no more than a tickle nowadays. If you guys have ever fought against the Rey, normally when Rey goes into her ultimate, you're clenching your butt and you're hoping she doesn't defeat anyone. Firstly, if you still have a full team of 5, Rey's barely going to scratch you. And normally, when you're down to 4 characters left, normally Rey's ultimate deletes the rest of the team. But as we've seen the example footage, Moff Gideon's demoralized, reducing offense by 50%. Even if you're down to a team of 4 and Rey does her ultimate, you are still going to survive because of the massive damage reduction. Now, keep in mind, Moff Gideon's demoralized does not affect Rey's sudden whirlwind. Rey's sudden whirlwind still does massive damage, but the ultimate on Rey is getting the biggest hit out there. And as a result of this, one of the biggest finds is that if you're someone that likes to run the Thrawn Darth Vader Watt counter to Rey, the counter just got so much easier with Moff Gideon because of a few things. Firstly, he resets the turn meter at the very beginning of the battle. He should go second right after Rey due to his massive speed gains. And the best part about this Vader counter is that Vader cannot have his turn meter manipulated. So when Moff Gideon's resetting the turn meter of everyone on the field, he is not resetting Darth Vader's turn meter. Darth Vader loses 0% turn meter. And instead, Darth Vader's actually going to get the massive 25% turn meter boost through control the situation. So in a way, Moff Gideon's acting like the Captain Rex or a Jawa engineer for Darth Vader to start his combo even faster. And that means there might be a possibility we can develop a way to create the Vader counter without Wat Tambor. Now, we haven't found a way to make a Vader without Wat counter Rey, but I think because of this, there might be a slight potential. Something can be worked out because now Vader should be able to get out very early, even without the help of Wat Tambor, because he's not losing turn meter, and Moff Gideon's giving him the turn meter he needs. Since we're talking about control the situation and him manipulating the turn meter on the field, there was actually a few instances where he was not helpful at all. Firstly, for example, we tried going up against a Darth Revan team with Imperial Troopers. Now, Imperial Troopers before Moff Gideon were already pretty darn solid. They defeated Darth Revan teams very easily under the Veers lead, but we decided to give it a try with Moff Gideon, and Moff Gideon is able to outrun Darth Revan no problem and apply Demoralize at the beginning. However, Darth Revan is immune to turn meter reduction through the lead when he has a debuff on him. So Moff Gideon seems to be almost useless up against Darth Revan unless you just want the Demoralize bonuses. Other than that, Moff Gideon, if his turn meter reduction does not work, he just pulls away the turn meter on your team, and Darth Revan gets a major turn meter advantage as a result. So you got to be very careful where you bring in Moff Gideon, because there are some circumstances where he's going to be more of a detriment to your team than a benefit, because teams like Padme Amidala cannot have their turn meter moved. Rey teams, if there's lots of Inspired on the field, Moff Gideon cannot control the situation because Inspired light side allies cannot lose turn meter. Sith Eternal Emperor cannot be affected by turn meter reduction as well. But in most other circumstances, the turn meter control was very, very good. And probably one of the most prominent examples is making sure he gets out before Captain Rex's in a 501st General Anakin Skywalker team. As a result of him being unconstrained with control the situation, able to control turn meter on any type of teams, and being able to apply Demoralize no matter what type of team he's in, we were able to show him in multiple different lineups. For example, we used him with Commander Luke Skywalker up against General Anakin Skywalker. We used him with Darth Revan up against General Anakin Skywalker. If you're someone that still only has Darth Revan and you've had a hard time beating General Anakin Skywalker, as well, fast Moff Gideon is going to be able to help you control the situation, pull back turn meter from the file first, allowing your Darth Revan to go next, get the fear going, and it's game set match. If Captain Rex can't get the turn meter gains before Darth Revan drops the fear, it's almost a game over situation for gas. If you're a Sith Eternal owner and you've been one of those that's been complaining about Rey making it hard for your Sith Eternal to win, we found that Moff Gideon is a very good plugin in that lineup because of Demoralize and the turn meter control that he brings. Because Rey, on her first attack, unlike Jedi Master Luke, unlike Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, she's not really doing much, so it really sets up your Moff Gideon to pull back the Rey turn meter, apply the Demoralize, so she can't do big damage with her ultimate ability. So Sith Eternal is a character that's really going to benefit from Moff Gideon. The long story short, we can keep going on and on and on, but this character is going to be used in multiple different lineups, and this kind of brings up the question. We haven't had a character like this in a long time, except Legendaries and Galactic Legends. Really, Capital Games really has not given the community a normal marquee typical release character that is so plug and play and able to apply detrimental effects and control on the enemy team since Hux. And Hux is the last example of a character that was just plug and play any type of line, control turn meter, and they nerfed him so he could no longer work outside of the First Order and control the turn meter through Boundless Ambition, as we discussed earlier this week. So as a result of Hux being our history lesson, there's some concerns that they might be nerfing Moff Gideon. However, if that does happen, there's zero indication as of now that they will nerf him, because if they did nerf him and contain him only to Imperial Troopers and only to the Empire, this character quickly goes from God tier to very mediocre at best. And this will lead us to the part of the conversation what I did not like about Moff Gideon. His basic was just pretty basic, nothing too special about it. Even when we got Subversive Volley, it wasn't anything too special. Dark Saber Lunge was a very basic armor shred thing, nothing too fantastic that we saw. But really, the worst thing about Moff Gideon's kit from my testing is his leader ability and his viability with Imperial Troopers. His tactical deployment leader ability. Let's talk about that because I actually reached out on the forums hoping to get an answer, and a developer, SWGoH, was quick to respond to my comment. And this is really going to push the point even further that Moff Gideon is not going to be really amazing with Imperial Troopers. If you guys watched the live stream we did the other day, we had a little conversation back and forth with the chat and myself. What is going on with Moff Gideon's leadership? The way it's worded right now, it looks like they're two independent statements. You have the one statement that just says you have to satisfy certain tag requirements: 2 attackers, 1 support, 1 dark side tank to get the 30% max health and max protection bonuses. And then from an English and logic perspective, it looks like as long as your whole team's Imperial Troopers, regardless of the classes you brought in, you should be getting all the subsequent bonuses of the offense, the revive capabilities, the extra insight stacks. However, talking to a developer on the forums, they have confirmed we found a bug with the leadership, and it's mostly a grammatical logical problem. Somehow they said in the review process they missed the word also, which links the second statement with the first statement. So the leader ability should be saying if all allies are also Imperial Troopers. So what this really means then is that even if you bring in an Imperial Trooper team, if you did not bring in the right tags on those Imperial Troopers, you are basically running a leaderless team because he's not giving your team the protection and health bonuses, and he's getting none of those 3 Imperial Trooper bonuses listed at the bottom of the leader ability. You need very specific Imperial Troopers. You only can bring 1 support, 2 attackers, and a tank, and they all need to be Imperial Troopers in order to get the rest of the bonuses through the leader ability, which does not make him a great Imperial Trooper leader as it stands now. Even when we bring in things like Piet, General Veers, it just really felt like his lead wasn't offering much. And furthermore, if you're someone that cares about 3v3 Grand Arena, well, this leadership is not going to be good at all in 3v3 because you need a full team of 5 to trigger the effects of this. It doesn't care if you brought in all Imperial Troopers. You need to have the right class tags that are described. So in a way, the leader ability is actually a bit more nerfed than we originally intended because they're missing some words in there, which they will add in a future update, they said. And even when we tried him out with General Veersley, General Veers was already kicking Sith Eternals, but we made many videos in that. Easily beats Darth Revan teams and a lot of other top teams out there. And Moff Gideon just doesn't feel like he adds much to the lineup. We've already perfected the Imperial Troopers we had with Veers, Piet, Stark, and then usually you would either bring Short Trooper, Snow Trooper, Death Trooper, or Range Trooper, depending on what type of game mode you're playing, and it was a really solid team. Putting Moff Gideon in there just felt okay. He was doing something, but it just didn't feel like he was adding anything to the team. Yes, you could beat Sith Eternal, but we were already beating Sith Eternal before. He doesn't make it easier to go up against Sith Empire teams. If you're using Imperial Troopers up against Sith Empire, he's not doing all that hot with them. And when you do try to create an Imperial Trooper team that meets the requirements, and you do actually trigger all the extra bonuses, we didn't really find a team that he was good at, although it seemed like we got close to potentially beating a Rey, but it felt like we needed a mark or something to put on her. And this is what leads us to my speculation part of his kit, his future. And due to that clarification the developers gave me on the forums, and with the artwork that's under his leader ability tactical deployment, I am almost certain that his leader ability is waiting for 1 or 2 more Imperial Troopers, and there's actually a couple of ideas. Scout Trooper, as we've seen the leadership artwork, maybe Scout Trooper will bring the mark, and a mark with Imperial Troopers with Moff Gideon could be a Rey killer then. Perhaps a Flame Trooper or the Dark Trooper like we talked about earlier this week. So with his whole entire kit, his leader ability has been the most underwhelming thing about him. It seems like we're missing a couple of troopers and it's way too constrained. So really tying all this together, what I'm trying to get at is if they do nerf Moff Gideon's control of the situation, his turn meter control, being able to trigger taunts and give it bonuses to attackers and support, and if they nerf his demoralize through know your adversaries, this character is going to go from amazing to a character that's not really all that useful with Imperial Troopers, and we just gotta wait and see what are they gonna bring to add to the tactical deployment leader team. One more thing I want to point out that's not all that hot with Moff Gideon. I left him on defense and I asked my shardmates to send me some footage. How does he work on defense? Because I wanted to see, would he make raid teams better up against people trying to bring in Darth Vader, Thrawn, and Wat as their typical Grand Arena territory war counter? And Moff Gideon does not use his abilities appropriately for some reason. He starts up with the Darksaber lunge, which really isn't all that great of an ability, and he doesn't use control of the situation at the beginning. He does apply to demoralize, of course, but really he should be using control of the situation at the beginning. Now, granted, again, if they had a Zeta on Darth Vader wouldn't lose turn meter, but the rest of the team would be. So although this guy's got amazing plug and play viability, I'm not sure how his defensive viability is going to be, based off what I'm seeing with his AI control. Not sure if that's intended by the developers to make him not that good on defense, but for sure as heck, he is going to be amazing on offense and forming lots of teams and lots of counters. All right, Zetas and Mods. And one thing I want to emphasize here, all this testing was 7-star testing, and he does miss out on about 20 speed before you take him to gear 13. And furthermore, you can't use your 6-star mods on a 3, 4, 5, or 6-star Moff Gideon. So all these cool tricks and combos were shown with Moff Gideon with full speed potential. So if you are someone using Moff Gideon, keep in mind that you won't be able to make him as fast as me, because I have full advantage of 6-star mods. And again, this is one of my #1 platforms for Galactic spheres. I really think it's time we drop the gear 11 gate for less than 7 stars and move it up to at least gear 12, so you get a little bit more speed and you can at least use your 6-star mods. But regardless of that rant, what Zetas would I recommend? For sure, if you want to give Moff Gideon a Zeta, control the situation is very good. This is almost something I would expect in a Galactic Legends kit. Being able to manipulate your tanks on your team to taunt for 2 turns, giving offense bonuses to all attackers and protection up to all support allies. There is no constraint to this, which lends itself to tons of theory crafting potential. We were going crazy during our stream with this. Now, with tactical deployment, I'm actually recommending you hold off on the Zeta for right now. It does add a ton, but as we said, even with that clarification from the developers, this leadership is so constrained, it's only going to be useful for Imperial Troopers when there's 1 dark side tank, 2 dark side attackers, and 1 dark side support. And right now, I just haven't found anything that amazing. But when they add whatever new characters I'm suspecting are down the road, Scout, Flame, or Dark Trooper, this Zeta looks like it's going to be really, really good. But as of now, Veer's lead is the superior lead to use for Imperial Troopers, and I just recommend, as of now, use Moff Gideon to plug in multiple different lineups. And lastly, let's talk about mods. Since this is the fastest non-Galactic Legend character in the game, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to want to mod this character with the speed set for sure, and as much secondary speed as possible to push off some juicy numbers. These aren't even my best speed mods. During our stream, we were able to get this guy easily to get over 370 speed. And I recommend with the speed set, try to fill in ways that make him survivable. Even at low stars, it's going to be important. Try to load those protection mods on him to keep him as durable as possible, because you want him to survive. Keep the demoralize going, because when he's defeated, demoralize disappears. Ignore my crit chance and crit damage mod here. I just have him here because they got really good secondaries, and I would prefer to have a protection mod up here, but I just needed that juicy speed on Moff Gideon. And with that said, that's gonna wrap it up for today, ladies and gentlemen across the galaxy. Like if you did enjoy the video, comment down below on all your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and always remember, it's great to be in the Empire today.